Hey guys, welcome to the Nerd Stream Friday. My name is Maria Park and you're with Approach to Nerd. So we are going to talk about WandaVision episode 7. I was going to make a video, but then I thought I had so much crap in my head that video would be over an hour long. So it was a lot easier to just jump in a live stream and talk about it. So let's just do that. Lots to talk about. In the episode, it starts with Wanda in bed. She is doing like the whole intro was kind of like an homage to Modern Family. It's completely crazy. She basically has a nonchalant attitude about everything, including her own children. She doesn't seem to really care what they do or that they're even there in the episode. Her powers, interestingly enough, are going a little crazy. Like her boys are playing a game, so their controllers keep flashing back from Nintendo or PlayStation to Atari to I think they even had like Uno cards at one point. And they go to tell her about it, and she's like, "Mommy's resting her eyes." So I did think it was interesting though that Vision and her are still they're kind of following the plot, even though or the script of the show, even though they don't realize they're doing it. And what I mean by that, Vision runs across Darcy, because you remember in the last episode, Wanda expanded the hex. And so now more of swords, like base and soldiers are actually a part of Westview now. And so Vision kind of sees Darcy, and he remembers her trying to help him. He doesn't remember her or know of her, but he remembers her trying to help him and intercepting information, from her. And so he, first of all, tries to convince her, that they know each other. Of course, Darcy thinks that he's trying to hit on her. And that whole exchange is just kind of funny. But eventually he does free her mind. And so then she kind of, they decide to drive away from the circus, because at one point she thought she was an escape artist. And there was a circus guy there who was wearing Sentry's belt. And I thought that was really interesting, but makes sense that they would have Bob Reynolds in this, because he has a big connection to Secret Invasion, which means if he's going to be in the Nick Fury series, which of course is, heavily revolves around Secret Invasion, then we're going to see a lot of cool stuff. And it gives me a lot of hope. And I said this in other reviews, that we will see the Illuminati, which will make me extremely excited. But I'll go back to that. But yeah, he definitely is he's wearing Sentry's belt. I mean, bam, right there. I have trained myself to look for Easter eggs now. I don't catch them all, but it's pretty hard not to see Sentry's belt on this guy. And also that's why he had a speaking role. But so anyway, so Darcy and Vision get into, I can't remember if it was a funnel cake van, something like that. And they drive off. And what's interesting is, before we get to Agnes, which I know if you're on this live stream, you know that Agnes is Agatha, and everyone's been saying it from the beginning of the series. But what's interesting is that when they're driving and they're trying to reach Vision's house, and all of these things keep blocking their path, Vision's like, "Oh, Wanda's doing this," but I think it was actually Agnes that's stopping him from coming back, because she doesn't want him to interfere with what's about to go down, which is interesting because, again, back to what I said earlier, they're following this script. So you see like Vision's like sitting in a chair, and he's like basically vlogging about Wanda, and how, for me, finding out my past seems like it happened to someone else. But for Wanda, it was a couple of weeks ago. And then finally he's just like, "Wait a minute, what the hell am I doing?" And he takes the microphone on and just flies off, which he could have done the entire effing time. So I thought that was really interesting. Agnes has been acting increasingly shady. Like, she was shady in the last episode with the whole car. In my last review, I did say that I thought she was putting on those crocodile tears, and it didn't make sense that she was still, mobile and able to, function when everybody else was like, immobilized past, that certain point on the street. So I thought that was strange. In the comics, Agatha isn't really a villain. She's not really a hero. She kind of like is in the middle. So for me, it's just weird that, if she is the big baddie of the series, then it's kind of like going against type. But I am going to say something, and I'm hoping this is another Easter egg, and I'm hoping that, you guys kind of see it a little bit. I know I'm really shooting in the dark here, but so when Wanda's powers are going all over the place, you know, the decor of the house is changing through timelines. The almond milk goes from almond to whole milk. On the milk carton, there's a missing kid. It's very blurred out. Now, we know they're bringing a Fantastic Four movie into the MCU. So we know we're going to have it, you know, a Reed Richards, we're going to have Suit Storm. What if that kid is Franklin? And that's just a way of her seeing, that's basically Wanda's mind trying to get her to see what's actually happening. Because remember, Agatha Harkness was the nanny of Reed and Sue's kid, Franklin. And Franklin is the one who separated Mephisto's soul into those shards to begin with. So wouldn't it be interesting if the kid on the milk carton was actually Franklin? I'm just putting it out there. That's just something I thought about when I saw that. I'm like, I wonder if that's Franklin. It would tie in really well with Mephisto. But speaking of Agnes, so Agnes is Agatha Harkness, and she's been basically controlling everything. She basically brought Evan Peters, Quicksilver, you know, back, not, well, I can't say from the dead, but from the X-Men universe as Pietro. Every event that has happened or transpired in this series has been Agatha. Which is interesting. And I love they keep showing this bunny, because if you know anything about her in the comics, she used to have a familiar, and it was like a Black Panther, and she, you know, named it Ebony, and she basically devoured it to get a power up. She's, you know, she's not that great, but she's a witch. So, you know, she does what she does. But I just thought it was interesting that, you know, Agatha is so in the forefront as the villain. I don't think she's the main villain. I think if anything, it is Mephisto, but I think that she's working for him. I don't know why. It does look like she has the Darkhold. I think, Nicholas, you said this in the comments a minute ago. Yes, if you don't know what that is, it's the Book of Sins or the Book of Spells. So think about if the demons in Charmed, the series, had their own, you know, book, then they would be able to cast spells on the charm ones. So that's basically what this book is. It is not good at all. But I also thought it was very interesting that she, you know, they show like she has her own intro. So they write her own intro, basically. It's been Agatha all along. And then she gets to the point when she's like, I even killed Sparky. And I'm like, that's so weird, because in the comics, Sparky, or at least the dog Sparky was modeled after, because he was a synthenoid dog. He wasn't a real dog, was killed digging up Grim Reaper's scythe, you know, in the back. I think it was the front yard of their house. So that was Grim Reaper. That's kind of what they keep throwing Grim Reaper references. Maybe it's to throw us off, or maybe there's like some secret, you know, alliance going on that we don't know about. But it's interesting. And having Agatha know everything from the beginning and knowing what the state of Wanda, she's been manipulating Wanda. It's very obvious. It's kind of why you see Wanda in kind of like this spaced out kind of, you know, she always has a spaced out look on her face. It's literally because she's being manipulated. But let's talk about something really quickly. Let's talk about the Nexus commercial. So if you watched my review last week, I said that she was a Nexus being, because she is. Wanda is a Nexus being. I thought it was very ironic that they had a Nexus commercial in this episode, which is basically the gateway toward where all of every single reality kind of all intersects with this one gateway, and it's the Nexus gateway. So that is definitely a spoiler. But I also would like to know, and just hear me out, if it is Mephisto, could it be that we're talking about the Nexus to multiverses, which is possible, but also could it be that they're referencing the Hell Lords? Because if you remember, Mephisto has Hell Lords, and they created a Nexus of the Netherworlds, which eventually, leads to the Demogorge, which also ties in with a lot of other Avenger stories. It's just something I'm throwing out. So I think that's a good way of Mephisto bringing in the Hell Lords. I thought that would be very cool too. There's so many things they can bring in. I mean, obviously with Mephisto, if it is Mephisto, eventually we will get the Silver Surfer, because he's kind of like the character that always gets away from Mephisto. You can't really control. So I think that would be very interesting. But just think about that. The Nexus of the Netherworld would be insane. But just throwing it out, guys. Throwing out my theories here. All right. So I do know that a friend of mine, we watched it together. We did like a watch party, and he thought that the villain is Nightmare. And if you know, in Marvel, Nightmare is a character that can shapeshift in different forms, based on what people remember are their memories. And he played so many Avengers. I mean, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, the Hulk, even the Squirrel Girls, like all of this stuff, all of these, things that Nightmare has done to them could kind of track with what's happening within the MCU. And honestly, so my friend believes that Agatha is not really Agatha, that Agatha is actually Nightmare taking on Agatha's form. Now, just to put this out here, it could also be his daughter, Dream Queen. And the only reason I think that would be very cool is she has the same powers. She is living in the live world. And if by any chance that is who this person turns out to be, we would get the introduction of Goblin, we get the introduction of Pathway and Alpha Flight, because all of these characters can bring in other characters through the MCU. So I know I'm throwing a lot out at you guys, but I'm just trying to, it's what's going on in my head. And that's why we're doing a live stream, because I had so many thoughts watching this episode. Okay. So Agatha has the twins. She took the twins to give Wanda a break, but really she took the twins to take them down to this creepy ass basement that looks like a portal to hell. And then, of course, when Wanda goes there, which I'll get to Monica in a minute, it looks like she has all of her chess pieces in place for whatever's about to happen next week, which more than likely is the twins being absorbed by Mephisto, which I think that's what it is. And, since Wanda is a Nexus being and she has chaos magic, if they are trying to go by opening the Nexus gateway by using a Nexus being, then they would use Wanda. Now, how Wanda is connected to Agatha in this universe when we've never had Agatha in any of the MCU properties so far, I don't know. Will they explain this? Is this something that happened in Sokovia, like she knew them before? I don't know. I do know that the Sokovia fortune teller costume on Halloween, the last episode, could be how she met Agatha. By saying, "Oh, I'm a Sokovia, fortune teller." Maybe she met Agatha by going to the fortune teller. I don't know. I'm just trying to place her in this universe. We know how they are in the comics. I don't know how they are in this universe. And is Agatha being controlled? Is Mephisto pulling her strings? Is she already the nanny of Franklin? Is she doing it to save Franklin because he's missing? There could be a lot going on here, guys. So, I don't want to just cut and dry say that Agatha is the big baddie, because I don't think that's true. I really don't. All right. So then let's talk about my girl, Monica Rambeau. Number one, I am so disappointed that Blue Marvel, it was not the physicist she was talking about. This is some random major in SWORD. I was like, really? And that was such an opportunity to bring Blue Marvel in. I was so annoyed. But unfortunately, his stuff probably would have worked, because that truck did not penetrate that shield. But how cool is it that Monica basically gets her full-time powers through literally determination of getting through the hex? She walks through the hex, she starts splitting, and she starts hearing her mom's voice. We hear, Carol Danvers, we hear Nick Fury. They're all talking about, a mission that her mother was not, kind of hesitant to go on with Carol in space somewhere, which more than likely, and I said this in my last interview, is probably why she has beef with Carol. I think her mother went on a mission with Carol. They went somewhere in deep space where humans probably can adapt like Captain Marvel can, and she ended up getting cancer, and she blames her for that. I just thought that whole thing was interesting. But when she popped out of there and her eyes turned blue, I was like, all right. Now, I don't know to what extent her photon powers are right now, because, eventually she becomes pretty much immortal. She's like Endgame for a lot of people in the Marvel universe. But I do know that when Wanda tried to levitate her, because when Monica goes to, try to rationalize with Wanda by using her own story about losing her mother and finding, owning her truth, when she did that, and, you saw Monica literally, her eyes turned blue, and she kind of broke out and hit the ground and just landed in the coolest superhero land pose. I was like, all right, we got my girl. So I am extremely excited about this, that Monica has her powers. But I mean, again, we kind of all theorized that was going to happen, that her going back and forth through the hex was how her stuff was going to be triggered. So it didn't happen that way in the comics, but it doesn't matter. This is the MCU. It's its own thing. So it is what it is. But Another key into to Agnes being shady was when the look on Agnes's face when Monica was trying to talk, Wanda down, and she literally came over and was like, "You literally have outstayed your welcome." But we kind of knew that too. The scene where Herb's like cutting the fence, drilling into the fence, it was kind of looked like a brick actually, Vision's house, and you saw Agatha and they start questioning where Geraldine came from. That was more Agnes. So yeah, Agnes has been shaded the whole damn time, which I thought was interesting. It also begs the question, is she controlling Quicksilver or Evan Peters, Quicksilver, or is he like at the end credit scene? Because there's finally a credit scene after the credits. The end credit scene was awesome. You see Monica go after them and then actually see a door to the basement, the creepy satanic looking basement. And then you see Evan Peters say, "Once a snooper, always a snooper." And I don't know if he's still being controlled by Agatha or if that's literally, Quicksilver. I don't know. It would be interesting if he actually broke away or if this is, because I kind of feel like he's actually the X-Men's version of Quicksilver. He's not. He is the Evan Peters we knew from that universe, tying in the mutants. But I don't know, maybe I'm just seeing too much into it, but I kind of feel like maybe he's not under control at that moment. Maybe he is himself, which would be interesting. I don't know. There's a lot, guys. There is a lot going on in this episode. So also we know that Hayward is he's planning to attack Westview, and that he's really doing it to cover his own ass because he has been experimenting on a way of basically bringing Vision back, and using sword resources, which probably were not approved. Does that mean that he wants to use Vision for other nefarious reasons? We do know that all this, guys, is leading to Secret Invasion, but it also has a lot to do with the multiverse. So like all of this stuff is a tie-in, but now we know why he's been so annoying, and so off the books, because he's been doing stuff that he was not sanctioned to do, behind the scenes for his own purposes. He did kind of show himself a little bit with that little speech saying, "You don't know what it was like to keep the lights on," and all that. I think a lot of people got freaked out when half of the population was wiped out by Thanos. And it's created a lot of paranoia, a lot of hatred and fear against, anything that's different. And so having these superpowered people, that could just wipe you out at any time and that's really been the case in all comics too. And a lot of like mutant phobia in the X-Men universe is all of the fear of not being able to defend yourself if these people snap. Snap, see what I did there? But yeah, it's interesting that he's super effing shady. He's just super shady. So, I mean, really at this point, there's so many people that are shady in this that, honestly, I don't know. I just feel like this episode was literally on point. I even love the fact that the twins' outfits look a lot like the colors they wear in Young Avengers. So there's so much about this, so many, and I'm probably missing some Easter eggs. So I'll check your comments in a minute, but I just really enjoyed this episode, and I kind of feel like we're getting to the meat of everything. I don't think that this is going to be solved and by the end of this year. I think there's 9 episodes. So by episode 9, I don't think we're going to be like, "Oh, this is what happened." No, I actually think this is going to go on into a lot of the other properties because everything's connected. So we're either going to see it in Doctor Strange 2 or maybe a little bit in, the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think it's just going to spill in Spider-Man. So all of this stuff is going to be, whatever happens in WandaVision right now is going to be the effect of all, or the other properties are going to feel the effects of this. So yeah, I'm extremely excited on this. But yeah, so I want to know what you guys think. Tell me what you thought about this episode. I saw Nicholas, you've been posting like crazy. So let's see here. So it looks like Duro Aggie has the Darkhold in her possession. They can only spell trouble, especially if it's someone who's unstable as Wanda. Yep. This is crazy. But again, I don't think that Agatha is the overall baddie. I just don't. I think that she's working for Mephisto. And there is some truth to the fact that it could be a camaraderie among evil people, even though Mephisto being the devil He doesn't really he has minions, but, we could have, Nightmare. We could have, Grim Reaper. All of them could be working together. It's not the first time that this has happened. It happens a lot in the comics, but I don't think that Agatha is the mastermind of all of this stuff. I just don't. I really don't. But yeah, her having the Darkhold is bad. Steven certainly has his work cut out for him since this is get any worse. Yeah. And guessing that Agatha probably put a layered containment spell with a siphoning spell to put the boys under, or she's just flat out killed via a spell from the Darkhold. I think she's siphoning them. And I think she's going to siphon Wanda or control her to open up the Nexus. If we're going with that. I still think the Nexus to the Netherworld would be awesome, but, whatever. Sending their souls to Mephisto only to be reincarnated to the new bodies like in the comics. Yeah, reborn later to other mamas. Or Agatha is using the Darkhold, or should I say the Grimoire, to get her in contact with an entities, Titan and Mephisto. Yeah, or a deal for stronger magic ability. I'm thinking that it could be to up her magic, but it also could be to save Franklin. I don't know her motivation. Like, we're demonizing her, but we don't know why she's doing what she's doing. Because she did have a bond with Franklin, and Franklin is the one that caused all this with Mephisto in the first place. So, it would be amazing to me if anything I said, because remember, I said Nexus beings last week. I was pulling for Blue Marvel, the review before that, which didn't pan out, but that was MCU's fault. I would love it if Franklin Richards was the kid on the milk carton that's missing, and that Agatha's trying to find him, and Mephisto has Franklin. That would be effing cool, because he can't undo what Franklin did. So he just took Franklin in some way or another, some form or another. He has Franklin, and that's why she's doing what she's doing. That would be cool to me. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but that would be cool. Let's see. All right, didn't Agatha brutally murder her? Yes, her familiar Ebony to gain. Yeah, I said that earlier. She did. She wanted to get an upgrade in abilities, and so she killed her familiar, which was insane. That's insane. I was hoping Pietro was going to a clone, because in the comics he used Pietro's deceased body as a husk to push Wanda over the edge in hopes of getting his champion. Yeah, the only problem with that is he doesn't look like her brother from the MCU. I could see that if he did, but considering she's even like, why do you look different? It's kind of, it's a whole different thing. Let's see here. So from what I've seen so far, Agatha was acting so similar to X-Men Evolution's Agatha Harkness. True. I need to know her motivation. Everyone has motivation for something. Is it greed, or is it actually something noble, like trying to save Franklin's life? This is such a perfect opportunity to introduce the Fantastic Four early by saying that missing kid was him on the milk carton. And if that comes to fruition, I don't know. I haven't seen anybody else's review, but you remember, guys, I said this in this live stream that was that kid on the milk carton was Franklin Richards. Let's see here. When Billy basically called her out that her mind was quiet, which surprised the hell out of her. Yeah, he's got his telepathy now. Billy's like, let's be real here. He's gonna have powers that surpass Mama at one point. And he becomes a demiurge. So, it makes perfect sense. He's starting early. And that's another reason. Think about all of that power and Mephisto siphoning it to get his souls back. That's just, those shards would be, it's just insane. The whole prospect of I'm just glad it's not babies. I think it would be really hard for me if they were still babies and this was happening. Let's see here. Do you think that Pietro is not actually the Quicksilver we know, but actually Terrence Ward, aka Trauma, and he's just using his powers to transform into Wanda's sphere? It could be. That's the thing with Nightmare, even Dream Queen. They can make you see what you want to see, and also they can create things based on fear. Now, it's just interesting that they pull Quicksilver from the X-Men universe, because how did Agatha even know there was another version unless she's very familiar with the multiverse? And so all of this is insane. And that's why I think, besides Doctor Strange, I'm very, very interested to see how they handle this in Spider-Man. Because if we're getting Spider-Verse, this is going to be very interesting. That Nexus is going to open up a big wang of crap. And I think it's going to be extremely effing exciting. Let's see here. People she's close to and using his telepathic shapeshifting to push. We're still talking about him. Okay. It makes sense that she's using Terrence Ward as a ploy or a means to. I mean, it's true. I mean, like I said, with MCU, they're introducing a lot. Like, there's so much. I didn't expect to have Sentry's belt. You know, I knew Sentry had to be involved because, again, Secret Invasion. And then we get the Illuminati. And if we get the Illuminati, we get Professor X, we get Beast, we get so many X-Men universe characters. So I am down for that because Sentry being involved opens up a catalyst to a lot of cool characters joining the MCU. If this is truly Mephisto, again, I love the fact that means we're eventually going to get Silver Surfer. We have to get Silver Surfer. So all of this is good. If you love comics, you know that these are all good signs. Even if you don't, you're in for some cool S. I'm trying not to cuss on here. But yeah. Hi, Ito. Just dropping by. Like, but I can't stay long. I appreciate it. Hopefully I'll talk to you in my last stream. I'm sorry. I know this is an earlier stream for us, but I have another video to do later. And I'm in an acting class and I'm actually trying to learn my Joker monologue. So hopefully I'll be able to get a video up for you guys because it's actually really cool. A perv, Agnes has a power stone, purple color. It's possible she's using a power stone, but I don't think so. I really don't think she's using a power stone. I think this is their theme for the devil. I think they're just going with, because they can't use red because red right now is tied to chaotic magic. So I think they're using purple as the sign of Mephisto. That's what I think is going on. That's why you have all the purple vines and the layer of hell is purple. So yeah, I think it's going to be cool. I said Joker monologue sounds like Patreon material. Yeah, I'm gender bending Joker. So I'll talk about that. I might do that actually. Have that up as I'm also in a Joker scene from the movie. I think it's 2019 movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's the scene with the talk show with Murray, and I play Murray in that scene. So should be cool. Maria, do you think the kid from the Yo Magic could be a reference to Franklin or twins being trapped? Yes, I'm telling you. I don't know everything that stood out to me in this episode was the fact that they had a missing kid on the milk carton. And the only kid that I can think of that would have any relevance, at all to Mephisto, if this is Mephisto, is Franklin. And so Franklin is who I think is on that milk carton. It's why they have his face blurred out, even though technically they didn't have to do that because we wouldn't know what Franklin looked like live action anyway. But, I think that is Franklin on the back of that milk carton. Let's see here. Not yet, but the scarlet orange ore that's covering the Darkhold. Yeah, they haven't officially said what it is. I think it is. I think she's holding Darkhold. I'm behind on this series. 2 weeks have been hell for me at work. I'm sorry, Yeah, you've missed. They've gone fast forward now. If you want to jump out and not spoil yourself so you can watch, you might want to do that because I've been giving some spoilers away for this episode, especially with Monica Rambeau and Agnes. So, but yeah, I'm really interested to see exactly what's going to happen in the next episode. Because at this point, I feel like it's a siphoning thing. And I know there's going to be a fight between Monica and Agatha because it was in the trailer. So they're going to throw down and it's going to be awesome. I don't know at what point we're going to see if Mephisto is pulling the strings, which more than likely if we're dealing with House of M again, yes, he is. But I don't know if we're ever going to physically see Mephisto or not. I'm curious to see what they would make a Mephisto look like. I mean, they did not do a bad job with Josh Brolin as Thanos. So, I mean, it could work. I just don't want some crappy CG. I think that would throw me completely out of what's happening. And this series has been on point for me since episode 1. So I am extremely happy. I'm not even the biggest Scarlet Witch fan. I don't really like her character, but I'm involved and engaged with her, and Elizabeth Olsen is a great actress, so I am completely invested. Now, what about the interviewer? I thought that was interesting. Like, it sounded like a guy that may not be a guy that says, "Do you think you're getting what you deserve?" And I don't know if that was more of a message towards us. Like, are we supposed to answer this question, or does it actually have a double meaning? Like, from is this really Wanda's conscience? Is it really her? You know, I don't know. This could be Wanda's inner monologue. I think all of the magic going on the Fritz and stuff is actually Monica trying to break out of Agatha's control. That's what I think is happening there, because Agatha is running the show. But it's interesting because everybody's like made to think that Wanda is the one controlling everything. And even Wanda says, do you think it's really me? Do you think I have time to make sure everybody's mowing their lawns, going to work, making their dentist appointments? Yes, I have lots of power. And she is OP. She is literally, again, a Nexus being. She can rip reality apart, reform it the way she wants it. That's every Nexus being in the comics is different, but all of them have a direct effect over their own realities. And so her being a Nexus being makes perfect sense because she has chaos magic and she is using reality bending hexes. So down with that. But I just wonder about the Fritz stuff. And this has been going on since she found out she was pregnant, like seeing the stork. We even saw the stork again in this one. I think all of this is Wanda battling for control of this reality with Agatha. And I think it's been happening since day one. And when she said no, and in episode 1, when we saw the beekeeper that we thought was AIM, but turned out to be a random sword, agent, they just morphed into the world. When she said no after seeing him come out of the wormhole, or man cover, whatever, then all of reality shifted. I don't know if that was 100% Wanda. It was her power, but it also could have been 100% Agatha doing it. So there's so much. There's just so much. But my girl Monica has her powers. And that means now going forward, and now if we're in the same timeline and this is happening in the same timeline where she's going to deal with her issues with Carol Danvers, that's going to be interesting that she's going to have powers now. Because I would love to see an angry throwdown between Carol and Monica, because they would really be on the same level. And so I'm excited about that. But yeah, it's just so much, guys. It's so much. Hey, Tara, how are you? If you, sorry, I know I started a little bit early, so we've been kind of talking about, Agatha, Monica getting powers. I'm saying it again, guys, saying it again. If you learn nothing from this live stream, the back of that milk carton, I think that's Franklin Richards. I'm like, I think it is Franklin Richards on the back of that milk carton. And that's why it's significant. They don't just show things like that in the MCU without it having a meaning. But yeah, I just think it's interesting. Thanks for joining. Have fun, or at least hang in there with work. Let's see here. What a wild episode. I'm glad Wanda isn't evil, though, because that never made sense. No, she's not evil, though. If you look at the comics, even with Krakoa, she's not really she's not evil. She's just crazy. Like, she's always been a little touched. Let's see. I was high-key pissed that we didn't get my Adam. Yes, Blue Marvel. I mean, 2 reviews ago, I thought her name dropping the man that she would eventually have a romantic relationship with, who just also happens to be a physicist, would have been a perfect way of bringing Blue Marvel into the MCU. But then we get this random chick, and I'm like, really? When she's smiling, she's like, hey, and you see this, her name was Major, I forgot her name, Major Holt or something, I don't know. I was like, that's not Adam. Like, what? Kevin, what the hell are you doing? Like, I was so mad. Oh my gosh, I was so mad. But maybe they'll bring him in a cooler way. Maybe he'll be in Secret Invasion. They'll need physicists. I don't know. I mean, he has light powers. I don't know. All I know is that was a perfect way of introducing this character into the MCU, and they blew it. Just saying. But maybe they have a master plan that I'm not privy to. I mean, they've been doing a pretty good job, so I'll just keep my mouth shut. But I was really disappointed that was not Blue Marvel. Let's see. So what do you guys think about Agatha's motivation, though? You heard me say it could be motivated by wanting to save Franklin, or it could be motivated by her wanting more power. Because again, if she's already devoured Ebony, then that's a thing. I don't know the significance of the bunny. I know a lot of people like to talk about Dottie, I think her name is, the actress who played Tara in Buffy. I don't know if that is an homage to her character hating bunnies, like somebody else has said that I was speaking with. I think it was Eloy talking about her hatred or her fear of bunnies. I don't know why they went with a bunny. I don't know why we're still seeing this bunny. I don't know who this bunny is supposed to be. I will tell you this, though. If it is Mephisto, I really think it'll be interesting. But if they had Nightmare, we could get Squirrel Girl faster. But we probably won't. Well, we don't know if she's the engineer or the engineer just knows her or something. Monica never actually called her the engineer. This is true. She called her Major whatever. So this is true. Anya. Sorry, Anya. Thank you. I always get Tara, and I don't know why, because wasn't Tara Willow's girlfriend that died? And I always think that was a really sad scene. And I don't know why I keep mixing their names up. But, once I hit over 40, the memory fades. So just saying. I knew Agnes was evil. I called to myself since the first episode because I didn't trust her. That woman has an agenda, and Dottie plays Anya. Thank you. I think it's interesting, though, too. If you think about Agnes, though, I mean, is she evil? That's the thing. The MCU doesn't normally just make somebody all the way something. Even with Thanos, they try to make it seem like he was just so tired of, it was almost like, if you ever watched Gundam Wing and, there's scenes where like a lot of the Gundam people start freaking out. Like there's stuff where like Katra and all of them are like, I just can't take it anymore. Everyone just won't stop fighting. So we're just going to keep shooting at you. I kind of felt like that's what Thanos went through. He was just tired of people not being good to each other, that he just like lost his crap and decided to just take out half the population. We're all be nice now. It's like crazy. Yes. But the motivation behind it sometimes is actually not. So like if you look at Stargirl, how they wanted, to make a utopia full of people that just cared about each other and had free healthcare, like all good things, but they were bad people. So it makes you wonder if Agatha is not doing something similar. But again, and I know I keep saying this, I'm like a broken record. If that is truly the missing kid, because remember, Jimmy has a missing case, a missing person's case. If that kid on the back of that milk carton is Franklin Richards, and we know in the comics that Agatha Harkness was the nanny of Franklin, then Mephisto losing his soul shards, all that could have been weeks ago. And Agatha could have been with Franklin. Mephisto took him, and Agatha has to work for Mephisto to get Franklin back. I would be down with that. That would make sense. And that would be a reason to have a missing kid on the back of a milk carton, not just a random, okay, this is a milk carton. And basically back in these times, everybody had missing kids on the back of milk cartons. I don't think that was there for no reason. It seems like a pretty good indicator that might have something to do with Franklin Richards. And if it is Mephisto, they have to explain why he lost his soul shards in the first place, because Franklin took them out. He took his soul out, put him in charge, and they became the twins. Well, actually, Scarlet Witch made her twins out of them because she wanted to have kids. But yeah, I just think that's interesting. I don't think anything in this series is not there or just not intentionally put in there. This is all a smokescreen for what's actually going on. So I can't call Agatha 100% evil because I don't know what's actually motivating her. Now, if we come to find out that she devoured her familiar Ebony and got powerful, but it wasn't powerful enough, she's just super greedy and wants to have all of the things, and that's why she made a deal with Mephisto to help him, because you're basically making a deal with the devil, then I get it. And if she's if she goes more into dark magic, they pretty much worship Satan anyway. So then there's that. She is a Satan worshiper. Mephisto is Satan. That would make sense. But I want to believe that kid on the back of that milk carton, it's Franklin. If I was writing this show, that is how I would have Franklin in it. Mephisto has Franklin, and Agatha needs to try and get him back. She's doing everything she can to get him back. That's why all of this is happening, because she's sacrificing Wanda and her twins to get Franklin back. That's what I think. I thought Jimmy was missing person case dealt with someone in witness protection and not Franklin Richards being missing. Well, we don't really know. We know that there's somebody in witness protection, but we don't really know the semantics behind any of this. And let's be clear, in the comics, Jimmy Woo is literally the next leader of Atlas. He leads the Atlas Foundation. Jimmy Woo has been showing that he is a lot more than just a meek little FBI guy. Like the way he was fighting, all the information. How does he know all of this stuff that happened in Endgame anyway? He wasn't there. Like, how does he know all of these things? So, I mean, I'm just saying, Jimmy Woo, there's a lot more to him that they're showing us in the MCU, because there's a hell of a lot more to him than we are seeing in the comics. So anything that Jimmy Woo says, I'm kind of like, what's really going on? So we don't know. But at the end of the day, if they're keeping to the comics and they're keeping the House of M, it was Franklin Richards that caused Mephisto to lose his soul. So he has to be put into this story in some capacity. And so what better way than having a missing kid? I'm just throwing that out there. Did you hear that song? The song basically says "He's this girl is bad news." Yeah, I absolutely effing love that they gave Agatha her own, intro. It was so funny to me. Like, I love when you see, Pietro at the door, and, you obviously see her hex magic or her magic behind him, controlling him, but she's like sitting on the lawn drinking wine. I'm like, what? And I'm like, how does the town not know this? How does no one in the town see this? That is absolutely insane. Let's see. I'm wondering, how is Franklin dealing with being in hell? Because I know that blonde kid that's trying to get the Yo magic. I'm telling you, I think that's Franklin. And how would anybody deal with being in hell? It's not a good experience. Maybe Scott told Jimmy over drinks. I mean, I'm not knocking it. I'm not, but I just, like I said, all of this is a brilliant way of tying in everything. But let's talk about something I haven't mentioned. So we're all talking about Agatha, but remember, Agatha also said that Ralph says that I'm, too nice sometimes, or whatever the comment was. How do we know that Ralph isn't Mephisto? We never seen Ralph. She's always mentioning Ralph. Ralph could be Mephisto. So just throwing it out there. Easing it in there a little bit. The kid that was blonde, trapped on the island, surrounded by sharks, but couldn't get the Yo magic carton open. And thinking about the carton and then the milk carton. I mean, I'm telling you guys, if this is not Franklin Richards on the back of that milk carton, I call that the biggest missed opportunity by any of the canon and non-canon comic book series / movies / writers ever. Because we've seen through the Arrowverse, CW, I don't even know what we're calling it anymore. We've seen a lot of missed opportunities in those shows. But come on, MCU, we kind of hold MCU to a higher standard because they've actually done pretty well. Yeah, a lot of their stuff isn't canon to the actual Avengers and all of that. But I mean, they've done a really good job morphing it into something very enjoyable and connected. So these missed opportunities in the show, like with Blue Marvel, and again, to play devil's advocate, like a comment said earlier, technically, Monica did not say this is the physicist. She said this is Major blah, blah, blah. Obscure person. But, I really felt like having Blue Marvel be cast under the radar, that nobody, like literally nobody knew that they cast Blue Marvel. And then we see him for the first time in episode 7, would have broken the damn internet. We knew Monica was going to get her powers. We knew this. I mean, as soon as they started talking about blood work that needed to be retaken and scans that were blank and cells being, changing you and all that crap, we knew what was happening with that. It was no shock that she was going to become, Photon eventually, it was going to lead into being the new Captain Marvel. We know this. We understand this. That's fine. But we had no expectations at all on Blue Marvel. Just a lot of us fans desiring the involvement of Blue Marvel and comic book lore of the fact that they are in a relationship in the comics, or have been in a relationship. I haven't been following. I don't know if they're still in a relationship. I think they are. I think they're still together. So it would make so much sense that she would have Blue Marvel as the actual physicist that she was talking about. So if that is not going to be the case, that is a missed opportunity. And that's just my opinion. I'm sorry. Does this mean that he's just surviving off his powers alone and getting weaker and weaker until his spirit is broken, making him a vastly powerful tool from Mephisto? I swear that kid is Franklin. I'm telling you it's Franklin. And that missing kid on that milk carton is Franklin. And if it's not, I'm gonna send it. Look, like I said in my last live stream with Charmed, I'm gonna send an angry petition to the MCU. I'm to Kevin Feige, I'm coming for you. I'm like, you messed up. You messed up, because that is Franklin. Let's see here. Scrolling up. Nicholas, you've been posting a lot, buddy. Like a lot. Okay, what is this one? Sorry, trying to scroll up on StreamYard sometimes is crazy, because when someone posts any comments, it instantly jumps back to the bottom. All right, so we already talked about the Darkhold, which is pretty much an evil book. Like, it's literally like if we had the Book of Shadows, but we're just for demons and Charmed. That's basically what that book is. It is not something anybody should really have, especially Agatha or somebody who is fractured in mind as Wanda. Let's see. Or that's how Wanda's perceiving it while she's in the hex bubble. I think it's interesting. I think chaos magic is very interesting. I also wonder, this is just me, if we're getting the X-Men universe, are we going to get Polaris? Because Polaris is her sister. Are we actually, well, in the MCU though, that's not really true, because actually in the comics, and their kind of parentage has gone in circles. Like at one point, Wolverine was actually the twins, Wanda and Pietro's father. And then another has been Magneto. And then Magneto was their father and also was the father of Polaris. It would be interesting if we start getting the X-Men universe. Will that change or morph her reality into that's actually her her father? And will Scarlet Witch be basically referred to as a mutant? That would be interesting, because her, she got her powers from, the Mind Stone. So I don't know how that's gonna. I really don't know how that's gonna play out, because that's not what happened in the comics. She was born a mutant, so the possibilities are endless. Oh, I was like, the possibilities are endless with the Dark Grimoire. Yeah, I'm really interested to seeing all the backlash is gonna have in the other shows. Like I know that there's gonna be some repercussions in, Falcon, and I guess Falcon and Winter Soldier will have some kind of tie-in, more with Hydra and a bunch of other stuff. But I think it's gonna come to play in a lot of series, but nothing more. Like, I think Doctor Strange is gonna be the really big one, and then of course Spider-Man was gonna be a very big one, because if we're getting the Spider-Verse, like a lot of us believe is happening, that is definitely a side effect of WandaVision. But Doctor Strange, God, and the thing about Doctor Strange is he's been involved in so much crap. So like if it's Mephisto, he's had involvement with Mephisto. If it's Nightmare, like people are thinking it is. I mean, Nightmare has plagued Doctor Strange like he's plagued all the other Avengers he's messed with. There's so many things that could come from that. But again, I think it would be cool. This is just my nerdy side. I really, really think that Dream Queen would be awesome, because I really want them to have a live action version of Pathway and Goblin, because those twins are cool. And I want to see the live world. I mean, I just think it would be really, really cool. And since we don't have Ilyana right now, it'd be cool to see another world, that's chaotic and dark and crazy. So that would be cool. What if the Dark Book is controlling the Hex? Possible. I mean, if we're going to go by that logic, maybe the Dark Book is controlling Agatha. But I want to redeem her a little bit. Not all the way, because she's still willing to sacrifice the twins and Wanda. But I want to redeem her saying if she's doing this to save Franklin, at least she has trauma or, motivation, something outside of being a power-hungry bee. I want to say that would be redeeming, a redemption thing for Agatha, because we're in episode 7. They're making it Agatha too quickly. They don't normally show their big cards until the end. So, but we never know. You never know. But I'm glad that, because everyone called it. We all said it had to be Agatha. Now, again, we also said it could be her pretending to be Grim Reaper or Mephisto. But her working for Mephisto makes perfect sense. But let me go back to what I said probably 15, 20 minutes ago, where I said that her saying, I even killed Sparky, is crazy. Because again, Sparky was not a real dog. He was created by Vision from the body of his neighbor's dog in his comic series, where he was trying to have a family with his crazy wife, using, ironically, DNA from Wanda. And that dog was just minding its own little business, kind of like my dog does, and kind of went and saw this gate open, walked over to the gate, started digging because he saw something shiny, turned out to be the scythe of Grim Reaper, and it electrocuted him and killed him. And then they used his brain to make Sparky. Sparky was never a real dog, but that dog is the basis for Sparky. So her saying that's a Grim Reaper thing. That's really weird that she was like, I even killed Sparky. It's like, I don't know if they just like the fact that Sparky died, which is kind of creepy, and just threw that in. But then why have Grim Reaper's helmet in episode 2 as one of the things you see under the table, where you see Vision, like, kind of, he's phasing through the floor, and you see bones, and then you see, of course, the helmet of Grim Reaper. So this is so much. And I don't know if these are intentionally there to throw us off, or if all of these villains are working together in some Sinister Six type, capacity, which has happened a lot in the comics. So I can't rule that out. I can't rule out that that Nightmare's not involved, that Grim Reaper's not involved, that Mephisto's not running the show. I don't know. But I'm excited to find out. When Agatha said it and I killed Sparky too, I was like, you monster. Yeah. It really, I have a lab rescue. I love my baby. His name is Simon. He is absolutely amazing. I'll post a picture on the community tab. He's so sweet, but he's terrified of his own shadow. And so he is definitely, me and my spouse, he is our baby. So we have 2 kids. We have our daughter, and then we actually have our dog, who's like our son. And if he was in that scenario and somebody had done that to him, I think I probably would have gone to jail that day. I'm like, I think you would have saw me on CNN. She's like, oh, he got in the azalea bushes. And I'm like, and you're next. I would start shoving the damn bush in her mouth. I'm like, just saying. Who are Pathway and Goblin? Because I haven't read all the comics. So Pathway and Goblin are twins. Their parents were like extremely like mutaphobic. And so they found out that Goblin was going to be like monstrous looking, because they identified when they did the test that she was going to be a mutant. So they tried to abort her. And her sister, her name is Laura, I think her name is Laura Dean is her real name. She later joins Alpha Flight. So Laura, as literally as an infant, well, not even an infant, she's in an embryo type state. Like they were really, 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 really young in the womb. She uses her powers to teleport her sister to the Dream Queen's realm called Live World to basically prevent her sister from being aborted. And so her sister Goblin grew up in this world where she's like secluded from everybody. And of course they realized later on, the parents realized that Laura is also a mutant. So they try to get her like treated, and she ends up, it's a lot of stuff happens to her, but eventually she ends up joining Alpha Flight, and then she goes and gets her sister. And so they're fraternal twins. Both have very interesting powers. One's more goblin-like, and then, Pathway is the one that can open. She can basically open a realm to the live world and send you different places. She has a lot of abilities, but they're very, very cool characters. They're very cool. And they have a direct connection to the whole Nightmare character. So it would be really interesting to have them brought in. I mean, also, they have had some interactions with Mephisto in the comics. I mean, who hasn't? Really? He's Satan. But I just thought that would be an interesting way of bringing them in. Because they would be very interesting characters to have in that series or into MCU. But again, I don't know what's going to happen. But we know Sentry's coming because we have Sentry's belt. And if Sentry's coming, then we're getting the Illuminati. And I said that, I think I said that a long time ago, maybe even in my first ever WandaVision review, that I really hope they had the Illuminati in the Secret Invasion, because we know Nick Fury's TV series is revolving around Secret Invasion. So forming the Illuminati would be amazing. And Sentry being there, gives me hope that we're going to get it. And that also gives me hope that we probably are going to have Professor Xavier, because Fantastic Four movie is coming. And Reed Richards is also part of the Illuminati. So all of that could be really cool. I think that would be cool. Doctor Strange is a part of the Illuminati, Beast. There's so many X-Men characters are in the Illuminati. So yeah, I really think Evan Peters was pretty much the precursor to all of the X-Men, heroes we're about to get. And I'm not hating on it. As long as it has no involvement with Bryan Singer, I'm cool, because I do not like him. I don't like his directing style. I don't like his storytelling. I think he's an idiot. So I don't really like Bryan Singer as a director whatsoever. So in my opinion, people might come for me when I say this, I think that he destroyed Rogue. He destroyed Storm. He messed up a lot of the continuity of the X-Men universe. Poor Jubilee. Jubilee was all over the place. Actually, so was Shadowcat. Shadowcat in Days of Future Past never had the ability to send someone's consciousness through freaking time. That was not her powers. That wasn't her power set. I understand you're writing your own thing, but come on, you have a little girl in some of the movies phasing through a wall who everyone knew was Shadowcat. Then you had her phasing through a wall as Shadowcat. Then you had her have a completely different power set, and it just didn't make any sense. So I don't like Bryan Singer. I think he's the only director I know who's destroyed comic book movies on two different, properties, DC and Marvel, because Superman Returns, even though I love Brandon Routh, as Superman and Clark Kent, that movie was trash. So, just don't let Bryan Singer involved in any scope and any morsel of anything MCU, and I will be happy, and especially with the X-Men concerned. So, yeah, I said my rant. That was my rant, guys. I love you. Let's see. Ryan Gosling would make a good Sentry. Yeah, he would, but he would actually. Ryan Gosling would make a really good. Huh. Okay. I'm gonna put that in my head. Let's say, do you think that Herb could possibly be went up Greek at the very least, Daniel Drum? So that I can see them bring Brother Voodoo. I would love for Brother Voodoo to be in it, but I'm telling you, I don't know if that's where they're going with him. I don't know. Herb is he's such an anomaly, because he's not anyone based on a comic book character. It's weird. It's very weird. I think I even said, I took a note a while ago. I'm trying to find my old notes. What did I say about Herb? Because Herb actually has potential to be a lot of people. Oh, it's so, guys, the show will make you crazy. It will make you crazy. Yeah, him as Brother Voodoo would be cool, though. Oh, that would be really cool. I don't know. But then I don't think they would introduce Brother Voodoo that early in the MC. I mean, if we're not getting Blue Marvel, we're probably not getting Brother Voodoo anytime soon. Let's be real. We're not getting that. But I mean, there are a lot of obscure characters too. So I kind of feel like at one point I thought we were getting Enchantress, but that didn't happen. And then I know that a lot of the neighbors are supposed to be other people, if that makes sense. Like the people that we know as actual comic book characters that's not their real names. So it's weird because of course, Darcy, going in and just being a random, circus escape artist. I think they've made her an escape artist, right? I think that's what they said she was in this one. That to me was interesting only because, they didn't give her a full on, name, right? She had no name. She was just the escape artist. It's like if Wanda did that, she didn't have time to just think of everybody's backstory. So she just was random escape artist. So nobody really had names in the circus, which is interesting. But I guess for me, the one that stood out to me the most was Phil Jones in the comics too. But that's only because, so if you think about Phil Jones and his Earth, which was, what was it? Earth. I think it was 712, but I don't remember because there were a lot of multiverses and a lot of Earths. But so if you know about him, he's just a regular human being. He's a regular human. They make him very semi boring in this version. But what's really cool about him is that he's married to, Arcana Jones. And, if you know anything about Arcana Jones, she actually has magic ability. She's part of the Squadron Supreme. So I thought we were going to get Arcana. And there's a scene where, Phil's sitting in a chair and his wife, who looks the spitting image of like a comic book image of Arcana, says, do these earrings make me look fat? So I'm like, and honestly, they still could. But I thought that was going to be the other magical person, not, that was kind of interfering with the timeline, not just Agatha. I thought it'd be really cool to have Arcana Jones. But it hasn't come to, fruition. So I don't know. That would be a very good way of introducing her. But I just thought it was interesting that of all the names of the neighbors, basically, because Herb is not in the comics, Phil Jones is an actual Marvel character, a human married to a superhero. And his wife is blonde, and she looked a lot like, his wife, asking about those earrings. So just throwing it out there. There's a lot that they could do in the MCU. I kind of feel like sometimes they put these scenes in to let you know that there's a lot they can do, and they're just not doing it, which is good and bad, I guess, in a way. Let's see. I think Bryan Singer destroyed Logan and Wolverine. I'm still not over what he did to Emma Frost, Celine. Oh yeah, Rogue, Jubilee, Storm, Darwin, Psylocke. Oh, Psylocke is probably the worst for me because you guys know I love Quantin. I've said it in a lot of my past videos. Quantin's one of my favorite Marvel characters, just like Lady Shiva is one of my favorite DC characters. See a pattern here? I have a type. But Betsy Braddock. He did not know. Bryan Singer did not know that was not Betsy's real body. That Quantin's body was not originally Betsy's body. So when Olivia did her, I think she was doing press releases, she even said that she was educating Bryan while they were filming. That not only was that not her real body, but she was actually British and probably should have had a British accent. And I'm like, that for me, that's when, if you ever see my joke, I've done this with Blurred Without Fear a lot on his channel. If you follow him, I've done this with a lot of other people, Joe's Geek Show. I felt like Bryan Singer had a board and he would just put these characters on this board and he would get a dart and he would just throw it. And whatever it landed on, that's the characters he would use in his movies. He didn't need to know the backstory. He just needed to know the names, and he would find out their names and he would throw it in and he put them in whatever capacity he wanted. And then he had somebody like an AD. Now I'm a film graduate. I went to film school. So I know the assistant director does a lot of the heavy lifting. So have the AD find out what their powers are, what their names are, and then just roll with it. Doesn't care about backstory. Doesn't care about how the characters interact or relate to each other. He doesn't care. And that is what happened to a lot of those X-Men characters. He did no research whatsoever. He just doesn't care. It was a paycheck for him. He liked the notoriety of doing them because he knows people love comic book movies, and we didn't have the MCU, and that's what I think happened. So yeah, everyone downs the DCEU, but let's be clear. Bryan Singer started screwing up first. That I will never let that go. Darwin, the one mutant whose power is to survive any and everything, and he killed him because he was a token black character. Yeah, he also did remember, I think Angel died, didn't she? Not Angel. What was her name? Zoe Saldana played a character in X-Men. Oh, I can't remember who she played, but her character died, and I thought that was interesting. But I'll get to that. Darwin was the worst and most obvious trope of Hollywood, needs the deaths of a minority character. Yep, who is literally the most powerful of the first class, virtually. Why not Butterfly Girl? That's what I'm talking about. Butterfly Girl, Zoe. What was her name? Does anyone remember her name in the movie? Because I thought she did get killed in another movie. I don't know. I don't follow Bryan Singer stuff, so I'm gonna be real with you. I have not seen Apocalypse, or I haven't seen any of it. I just don't want to. After I saw Days of I'm calling it Days of Future Crap. I love Wolverine. I love, Sir Patrick Stewart as, Xavier. But the problem that I always had with Bryan Singer is not only does he not know what he's doing, he creates a plot hole where he'll kill a character, like Xavier died in Last Stand. But then they're just, and Magneto was dead. And then they're just walking in the movie and there's no explanation as to how the hell they're there. There's no explanation as to why they're back. There's nothing. There is nothing. So I have problems, and he leaves messes for other directors to pick up and try and fix because there's no continuity. So I don't like it. I don't like it. That's where I am. But yeah, so we are over an hour, guys. This was my review. I want you guys, please, 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 please let me know. Do you think I'm crazy for thinking that Franklin, Richards is on the back of that milk carton? Please put that in the comments below, because when I go away, this chat will go away. I need to know what you think about Franklin Richards being the kid on the back of that milk carton. And if so, do you think that Agatha is really working for Mephisto because she's trying to get Franklin back? And that is why she's doing all this? Or do you think she's just being power hungry? Please answer those questions. Also, tell me how disappointed you are about Blue Marvel. Also, what do you think about Monica, the way she got her powers? Yes, it's very different from the comics, but again, it is the MCU. The conversation she was hearing while she was walking through the Hex, which is to me, it was an Easter egg into what caused her mother's cancer. Just let me know. Let me know all of the things. But yeah, definitely want to know about Franklin, and then also what you think about Blue Marvel not being the physicist, because that just drove me completely insane. And what do you think is going to happen next week? Because I think a lot of crap's about to hit the fan since they're trying to siphon those twins' powers, and I think that she's trying to get, Wanda to create the Nexus. So yeah. Let me know. Now it is time for me to go eat, because I haven't even had breakfast yet, but I want to jump on here and talk to you lovely people, because I had a lot of thoughts and a lot of things to get out of my mind. And I'm so happy you guys were here to banter and talk with me about all of the things. And yes, Ray, she is a Nexus being. So yeah, I said that in my last review. So we already know that she is a Nexus being. I don't think she is the Nexus, but she is a being of the Nexus. And it's very interesting how they're using her chaos magic. But yeah. Let me know, guys. I love you. Have a great day. And Black Lightning will be coming. My review, I'm sorry it's late. Work caught me up, but I will have my Black Lightning review out probably in the next couple hours. So that will be up too, because we have a lot to talk about in the Black Lightning universe. But yeah, I love you guys. Until next time, have a great day. Bye.